Hi, I'm Amanda Blair, Extension Meat Science Specialist at South Dakota State University. Today I'm here with Megan Webb, who's a PhD student here at South Dakota State in meat science. And today Megan's going to talk to us about cooking temperatures and degrees of doneness for beef products. So Megan, could you start by telling us why temperature is so important for beef to get it cooked properly?
You bet, Amanda. There are two main reasons why we focus on temperature. The first is safety. Temperature is important from a food safety standpoint to keep people safe and prevent foodborne illness. The second reason is product quality, where the final product temperature, also known as the degrees of doneness, is critical for achieving our desired eating experience. Now, both of these applications require the use of a thermometer.
So Megan, could you show us or demonstrate the proper way to use a thermometer to take the temperature of different beef products?
Well, sure, Amanda. When using a thermometer, it's important to lift smaller cuts and burgers off the cooking element. You want to insert the thermometer into the thickest part of the product, which is likely the coolest part. Now, in steaks, hamburgers, and other products that are uniform in thickness, this is easily done. What we want to do is insert the thermometer into the side of the product until it reaches the center. One mistake people often make is taking the thermometer and inserting it into the top of the product while it's still on the heating element. This makes it much more difficult to ensure the thermometer is in the center, and it also increases the chances of an incorrect reading because you may be taking the temperature too close to the heating element. It is also important to use a calibrated thermometer. Directions for calibrating a household thermometer can be found in the links below.
So Megan, can you tell me why you're leaving the thermometer in the steak after you take it off the heating element?
Well, I'm making sure that the internal temperature of the product reaches my target endpoint. When cooking meat, the internal temperature of the product will continue to rise even after we've removed it from the cooking element. So for example, I like my steak cooked to a medium rare, which is 145 degrees Fahrenheit. A steak will continue cooking after it's removed from the heat source, so I generally remove it about 7 to 8 degrees before it reaches 145 and leave the thermometer in the steak. This way, you can watch the temperature rise and peak to ensure the final temperature reaches medium rare, and if the steak doesn't peak to 145, you can always place it back on the heat source to continue cooking.
That's a great point, Megan. We can always continue cooking the product, but we can't uncook it, so that's a great tip. So explain to me why you have this steak sitting here after it's come off the heat source.
After you've reached your desired peak temperature, it's important to let products rest so juices can redistribute and you can maintain a juicy product. Let me show you an example. Here's a steak that was cut immediately after it was removed from the heat in comparison to a steak that was rested for 5 minutes. You can see the difference in the amount of moisture that is lost after cutting. The steak that was allowed to rest retained most of its moisture and will result in a juicier product. This is another reason why you should use a thermometer instead of cutting into a steak to determine if it is done.
Great point. And those are some good tips for using a thermometer and maintaining juiciness of products when we cook beef at home. So let's talk a little bit about specific temperatures. I've often gone to a restaurant and had a waiter ask me how I like my burger cooked. Can you explain what the safe temperature for ground beef is?
When cooking ground beef, the product must reach an internal temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit to ensure that the harmful bacteria on the internal and external surface is eliminated. Now, keep in mind that a ground beef patty cooked to 160 degrees, which is considered a medium degree of doneness, may still be pink in the center, but as long as it has reached that target 160, it's safe to eat. Color is never a good method for predicting when a beef product is cooked safely, as other factors can influence color at different cooking temperatures.
So how does this differ for steaks?
When cooking steaks, which are whole muscle cuts and sterile on the inside, we're only concerned about eliminating bacteria on the external surface. So, steaks can safely be cooked to a much lower degree of doneness depending upon your preference.
So you've mentioned degrees of doneness. What are those and their corresponding temperatures?
Sure, here we have 5 New York strip steaks cooked to rare, medium, well done, and very well done. According to the Beef Steak Color Guide, rare is 140 degrees Fahrenheit, medium rare is 145 degrees, medium is 160 degrees, well done is 170 degrees, and very well done is cooked to 180 degrees. You can see how beef color changes as temperatures increased. However, it's important to remember that color cannot be relied upon, and a thermometer should always be used to ensure the best eating experience. We recommend cooking your steaks between medium rare and medium degrees of doneness to maximize tenderness, juiciness, and flavor.
Well, thank you, Megan, for those great tips. Palatability is definitely a personal preference, so experiment with degrees of doneness to find your preference and enhance your beef eating experience at home or while dining out. For more information on this topic and others, visit igrow.org, and for great recipes, check out beefiswhatsfordinner.com.